Welcome to Red Gun Barbecue. I'm owner Pitmaster Martin Goffin, and welcome back to our series Mastering the Cow, and this is beef ribs. These beef short ribs are a grass-fed product, have a marble score of 4+. With beef short ribs, the marble score is really important. The higher the marble score, the better the marbling, the more moist and much more forgiving that these beef ribs are going to be in the smoker. These shorties are from bones 5, 6 and 7 on the beef forequarter. One of these bones sits in the chuck and the other two sit in the rib or the plate. So the way I approach these, you've obviously got a top. The top has this sinuous, silvery skin membrane on top of the flesh or the muscle. And on the back, they have another piece of sinuousy kind of, it's just really kind of tough membrane that sits on the inside of the rib. So what we need to do is get rid of both of those pieces of sinew. So what we do to begin with, we just like to run our knife just underneath this skin, this silvery skin. Cut away from yourself and then back towards yourself. Just to get a nice thin veneer off. So I'll just keep doing this. Just cut away and then back towards yourself. Just exposing this beautiful marbling on top of this beef short rib. I like to use a shorty that's come off a beast which is roughly about 36 months, which is your YP category of beef. Just a bit of age, it's had a bit of opportunity to build a bit more muscle. And I just think they tend to slightly cook better than something that's a bit younger. And these are really easy to cook at home. These are very forgiving in terms of heat. Because there's so much marbling on these beef short ribs, they just tend to cook up beautifully and retain their moisture. Right, done. That's what it looks like. That's what the top looks like anyway. I'm now going to flip it over. What I do, I run with boning knife. So I've got a 6-inch boning knife. It's stiff. I like to just pop it underneath the skin on top of the bone. I like to use the bone as the base so I can lever it up. I see a lot of people, when they're taking off this back membrane, just going straight for the flesh. It's really difficult to kind of lever off this piece of skin when you're just digging into the nice flesh. So make sure you go underneath the skin where the bone is. And you just pull it off. There you go. Easy as that. It's not hard, it's not rocket science. And that's ready. Next step is to put some rub on it. I like to put a nice layer of water on top of your beef short rib. Lots of people use oil. I tend to find that oil creates this barrier between the smoke and the flesh of your meat. Smoke is fairly soluble, so if you use water, it's a lot better, in my humble opinion. So I like just to pop a little bit on, give it a rub. So now you've got something for your salt and pepper to cling to. I just use salt and pepper, and it's 2-to-1 ratio, same as my beef brisket, 2-to-1. In Australia, we use sea salt much more than we use kosher salt. Kosher salt is much bigger crystals, so if you did a ratio of 1-to-1, you'll find that your meat comes out really, really salty. Don't make the same mistakes I've made over the years, so it's 2-to-1. So what we do, usually, brisket, I talk about how we start on the bottom. With beef short ribs, I don't start on the bottom. And the reason why is that we're not going to eat the bone. Pepper's really expensive. Let's not waste it on something that you're not going to eat. So what we do, I start at the top. From a height, I don't like to go in close, remember that clumps up then. From a height, you get a nice even spread. So just from a height, giving it a wiggle, and then we'll give it a tap. We're trying to push those cracked black peppercorns into the flesh. Then I'll do the edges, give it a tap, tap again, tap again, final side. And that is a beef short rib that's ready to go in the smoker. I like to let these sit for at least 15 minutes back in the fridge 2 reasons. What happens is that salt starts to draw out moisture. Moist meat attracts more smoke, and also cold meat attracts more smoke. So I'll pop it back in the fridge for 15 minutes, and then I'll pop it in the smoker. So this beef rib is going to cook between 5 and 7 hours, anywhere between 225 to 275 degrees Fahrenheit. Like I've said before, temperature fluctuates, it goes up and down. Obviously we want to kind of hit it right in the middle, 250, but if it's at 225, 275, you're in the range, it's fine. At 175, this is where the stall happens. We're going to take it out, we're going to wrap it in tin foil, aluminium foil, whatever you want to call the stuff. So we push past that stall, up, and then we're going to take that beef rib to 205 degrees Fahrenheit internal. That's the internal temperature of the beef rib. And once it hits that point, we'll bring it out, we'll let it rest for a bit, and then we'll slice it up and serve it. So this beef rib has just come off the pit, red 205 degrees Fahrenheit internal. And what we do here, we slice them into individual bones. It's very similar to creme brulee. So it's got this hard, barky exterior, that's your hard bit, and inside it's going to be soft and delicious. So you can clearly see how soft and delicious this has become. It's completely soft. The way we serve these up is on a tray with a small thing of mixed pickles and maybe a little bit of coleslaw. So I'm now going to just carve the rest of this up into bones, and I'm going to show you how incredibly soft this is. So that's a beautiful bone. If you just squeeze it, you'll be able to see that it's just so incredibly soft. So that's the joy of the beef rib. So that was Mastering the Cow beef short ribs. So if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, give us a like, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment box below.